race at the new Daytona Road Course on August 11th. The championship will now be run at Homestead Miami Speedway on November 1st. Just 5 races remain for the Coca-Cola iRacing Series regular season, with the playoffs set to begin on October 8th at the Charlotte Roval. In the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, the field and format is set for the championship race. 8 drivers qualified for the 3-race championship format, and a champion will be decided on August 19th.
And the green flag is in the air. Now to the inside, contact there with Matthew Selby. Oh, and around goes Buttafuoco, contact with Brooks. Matthew Selby is declared the winner.
Today has definitely been the Brandon Gritton show.
Brandon Gritton will go back-to-back, Lex the win, and green flag is in the air here at Auto Club Speedway. Ooh, contact here.
Look at this. Look at, they made contact and exited to for 4 wide at Auto Club.
Oop, there it is. Josh Parker will come to the line and win. Big wreck. TEDESCHI involved, Selby involved, Brooks as well. Daniel Buttafuoco, though, will collect that win. Green flag is in the air.
Get a huge rod, Castro. Oh, look at huge trucks. Where did Brandon Gritton come from? As we see, Kyle Arnold completely sends it.
Josh Parker, once again, a winner. Instantly contact going into the corner. They're using each other as the brakes. Oh, big wreck. Justin Brooks will win the Xbox One race. Green flag is in the air.
Oh.
And contact, as you can see, checkered flag is in the air.
Slade Graven is doing everything he needs to do to win. Because Brooks looks to take the win.
Green flag is in the air.
They're going to get a huge run down the backstretch and take the lead away from Nick Jones.
Ooh, Sam Morris gets down below the yellow line, bobbles back up into it.
Oh, contact in the back. We're going to have a yellow.
Checkered flag flies, you can see it. The excitement, Josh Harbin, Alvarado into the wall, taking about the back half of the path with him. Checkered flag flies, you can see it. There's your emotion.
So obviously a crazy month of July for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, and I'm going to welcome in a friend of the show who's on the call for every single one of those races in that league, our friend Rusty. Rusty, we're glad to have you back.
Thanks for having me. I love being here, guys.
So I want to talk to you specifically about the Daytona race because it was the wild card race, and guys didn't really know what was coming down the pike for that. But we saw Harbin and TEDESCHI lock in to the championship, so it had to be a good race for them.
Yeah, you said it. It's a wild card race, and it definitely lived up to the hype. Guys' seasons came down to this one final race, one final opportunity to punch their ticket into the championship. And on the Xbox side, we saw Brian TEDESCHI keep himself in position the entire race, right in that perfect spot. So TEDESCHI makes it in for Team Penske. Over on PlayStation, Josh Harbin ran a perfect race, never made a single mistake. And then when it came down to the last lap, he put his car in the perfect spot to defend against everybody coming from behind him. He was a sit and duck, but Josh Harbin was clutch, closed the deal, and he punched his ticket into the NASCAR Heat Championship.
So that championship is now set. We know the 8 drivers who are going to compete for that championship title come in later in August. But I want to ask you, of those guys, your expectations and what that championship format is now going to look like this year.
Well, you can pretty much expect the unexpected in the championship when you got the 8 drivers out there because they're also going to be competing with the entire field. But as far as the competition goes, I think the first guy you got to look at is Justin Brooks. He's won 7 times this year, so he's got to be your title favorite. But literally anybody can win this championship. So this is a completely unique situation to NASCAR Heat and the Pro League. These drivers, they've been on their own platform for the whole season. So the Xbox guys have only raced against Xbox for season 1 and 2. And same thing goes over on PlayStation. They've only raced against the PlayStation 4 drivers. So for the championship, they're coming together. They've never competed against each other. So I've already seen the talk offline, just on Twitter, the conversation, the trash talk. These guys are ready to go to show what they can do against the other platform. And thanks to the partnership with Asus, they're bringing the field together, and they're going to be on that Fanatec wheel getting after it. I cannot wait.
I am sure that is going to be very exciting, but also it could go one of 2 ways. It could be a really great race, or it could just wreck everybody, and we have no idea what's going to happen. So that's going to be super exciting, but let's dive into some of the best of 2020 so far, because there's only one race left, that being the championship. So I want to ask you if you have a best finish that you've seen so far in 2020.
Man, the league's been so competitive. So many races have come down to the last lap. I always look back to Watkins Glen coming down to the final corner last lap. We saw a 3-wide finish at Atlanta, but I'm going to have to go with the most recent race, the most recent finish. Josh Harbin at Daytona. We talked about it. He was a sit and duck, but he put that car in the perfect spot with everything on the line. He was able to somehow pull it off and get that thing into the championship. So I'm going with Josh Harbin at Daytona in the wild card race.
All right. Next up, what was your biggest surprise you've seen this season?
Oh, there's so many storylines and surprises. I got to think about the rookie Maxwell Castro. He won segment 1. I got to think about Justin Brooks winning 7 races. Kyle Arnold, he was probably a title favorite. He didn't make it to the championship, but I'm going with Slade Gravett, the kid. He moved from PlayStation over to Xbox in season 2, and he also made the transition from a controller to the steering wheel. And I mean, a lot of guys think they can do it, but not only did he do it, he won a race and got into the championship. So Slade Gravett has to be my biggest surprise in NASCAR Heat League Pro League season 2.
All right, and last one for you. There's always some great paint schemes on the track in the virtual world, but what's been your favorite that you've seen?
Well, that's what the beauty about the Pro League is. Everybody's got their unique kind of custom design out there. So many cool sponsors, but the ones that popped in my mind immediately are the Geico Chevys of Kyle Arnold, Daniel Buttafuoco. I also think about Brandon Hanna in his Sunny D truck. But my favorite overall has got to be Diego Alvarado in the U.S. Air Force paint scheme. It's got that kind of like instantly identifiable look with the teeth on the front. I mean, it's mean. It's cool. It's just a cool looking car. So I'm going with Diego in the 43.
Yeah, that one's always a fan favorite. All right, so I always appreciate you being here and breaking it down for us. Tell folks where they can watch the championship race.
eNASCARheat.com, Wednesday, August 19th. This is the championship event. 3 races, $70,000 on the line. All drivers are coming together in one huge event. And make sure you guys follow NASCAR Heat socials for all the updates that are coming, because this is going to be huge as we lead up to this championship event.
So we heard Rusty break down that format and what's going to be ahead for the championship race. And one of the guys who took advantage of that Daytona wildcard race was Brian TEDESCHI from Team Penske Esports. Brian, talk about your Daytona race, because it was a wild card. You guys didn't know what to expect. Well, you took advantage.
Yeah, it was definitely a really wild race. Qualified pretty poorly compared to my standards. I kind of thought we were going to be a little bit more upfront with the lap we put down. And I think the biggest thing was just working the traffic and working which line was going to move, which line wasn't going to move. For the first time in my life, I feel like I got a good green flag pit stop. So I was really, really happy with that. And then at the end, ultimately, we were just in the right place at the right time. I knew pushing the 21 and the 37, we were locked in as long as we stayed where we were at. And at the end, I mean, it's typical Daytona coming to the checkered flag finish. I mean, you had to protect and had to do what you got to do, and ultimately we made it.
Now you can kind of look ahead to that championship race. So what's been on the mind now to get there and to make sure that you run the race that you want to race to possibly go and win a championship?
I think the biggest thing will just be consistency and just kind of building off of the setup portfolio that I've built throughout the whole season. I've been fortunate enough to kind of start being, I feel, in my opinion, a little bit better with building the cars and getting a little bit better baseline for a lot of the intermediate and speedway tracks. So to be able to build upon that, and depending on where we go and how many races or what the format's like, we know no matter what, it'll still be really wild. So just the biggest thing is just having good cars and just making sure we put ourselves in the right place at the right time. Execution will be the biggest thing, because got to hit those green flag pit stops, got to make sure you don't make any mistakes, and then at the end, ultimately got to make the right move at the right time.
Yeah, basically you just have to put together a perfect race. No pressure.
Yeah, for me, I feel like sometimes it's really hard, but yeah, no pressure.
Well, the very first time that I met you was over a year ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It was the inaugural race for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. So you're now on year 2. It's your sophomore year. You made it, and you've been 2 years in the league, but also 2 years with Team Penske Esports. What have you learned that's been different than year 1 that you have now carried into year 2? Because you're a veteran now.
Oh, it's weird to think of it that way. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned is you just always have to be, always got to be in your A game. This season, the competition got a lot tougher. The schedule got a lot more diverse with the lot more road course racing, a little bit more use of short tracks, and just all around, you just got to have your A game on. So last season, I feel that we had a really strong end and could have been a little bit better in the championship finale. But this season, we got another chance at it. So to make sure to kind of build on what we learned last year, and just all the items from all the races last season have played into pretty much every race this season.
Well, you know, they say that if you can follow up year 2 or year 1 with a better year 2, then you've mission accomplished. So good luck in the championship race in the rest of 2020.
Yep, thank you very much.
Let's take a look at our eNASCAR moment of the month.
Let's take a look. The 17's going to go to the inside. He pushes up. I mean, that's a wrecked race car, Tim, but look at the save by Blake Reynolds, who reels that thing back in.
Now let's switch gears to the Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Let's take a look at all the action that happened in the month of July.
As we say, let's go racing from New Hampshire. It's round 10. Left rear quarter panel. I mean, that was the slightest of touches, Tim, but he went around, and it was Nichols who goes around. We do not get to the white flag. Mullis just needs to get safely through the corner. Pusa going to be too far back. And Jimmy Mullis, first win of 2020. Let's go racing from Michigan. We're off and away. It's round 11. Battle for the race lead. 4 wide into turn number 1. This time by white flag, but they're going to wreck behind them. Caution flag is out. We don't make it. And Bolton destroyed in a melee. And it'll be clean air at a turn 4 as they beat and bang behind for Casey KIRWAN, winner at Michigan.
So obviously an action-packed July for the iRacing Coca-Cola Series. I'm now going to welcome in a friend of the show, Evan POSOCCO, who's the voice of iRacing. Evan, is it fair to call New Hampshire a wreck fest? Because 11 cautions. What in the world happened?
It was wild, but honestly, I mean, that's not even the kind of wildest New Hampshire race we've seen. Last couple of races have seen 10, 13 yellows. So honestly, we expected that with those low banking and high braking corners. New Hampshire's kind of always been a messy race, and this race was no difference. The interesting thing, though, is when you get kind of wild races like that, you tend to see different leaders mix it up. This race was dominated by Graham Bolin and Jimmy Mullis.
Yeah, well, another team that I want to talk about, however, is because we've seen the owner be successful in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2020 with Denny Hamlin, but his team now with Casey KIRWAN, both of them have won. They've both gotten into victory lane, and it felt like it took a while for both to finally get there, but they're here. So what's the outlook now for that team the rest of 2020?
Yeah, Keegan Leahy has been so good. He's been kind of at the top of the championship standings all year long. And Denny Hamlin Racing, with that duo of Leahy and KIRWAN, have kind of been at about 1 to 3 in the team standings all year. But in the last couple of weeks, Casey started to dip. So actually, coming into Michigan, he was actually down by a relegation cut in about P20, and he puts that car in victory lane for the first time this year. So now Denny's got both his cars in victory lane. I blink my eyes. Casey KIRWAN's now talking about a playoff bubble instead of a relegation bubble. So it's a big step forward for him.
Well, you mentioned that playoff bubble. We are getting closer to the playoffs. And is there a driver that you're looking for in particular that is not in right now that's going to get into the playoffs when we make that playoff push?
If I could pick 5, I would. I mean, I'm taking a look at it now, and there's so many strong names. Again, we only get 8 drivers into our playoffs, not 16 like the NASCAR Cup Series. And you've got guys like Alfala, Leahy, Luza. Those guys are pretty much locks. We expect them to be there. But then you got some surprise drivers. I mean, right now we have actually a tie for the final spot into the playoffs with Graham Bolin and Chris Shearburn. Chris Shearburn would be kind of a big upset as one of the Latart Esports entries, but the names under it are so strong. Logan Clampett, Jimmy Mullis, who I shouted out last time we were on the show as somebody that I was looking to kind of pick things up, but he got that win at New Hampshire. He's there as well. He's within striking distance. Casey KIRWAN jumps up. He's now 13th in the points. He's no more than 30 or so away from the bubble with 5 weeks left in the regular season. So if I could give you 1 or 2, I could, but I have no answers for our playoff bubble because it's still way too tight. And the races we have coming up are pretty crazy, so it's hard to guess.
Yeah, I have a feeling you'll be talking about the bubble for the next couple of weeks at least. Well, not only do you have to worry about making it into the playoffs, you also want to be in the top 20 when it comes to the iRacing series. So is there a driver that you're looking forward to making the push into the top 20, or is there one that's going to surprise you that's not going to make the top 20?
Well, we've been talking a lot this year about some of those big names, and our defending series champion, Zach Novak, is still below our cut line. He's in 26. Now, of course, we talk about the playoffs being a 5-race battle to get there once we start the playoffs for our final 4 rounds. That relegation battle is actually going to go all year. So they still have 9 weeks. So there's still a lot that can happen there. I would be shocked if Zach Novak doesn't get in, but he's going to have to turn a corner at some point. I've yet to see that happen. Somebody who I do think has a real good shot, though, now is Bob Bryant. He just got picked up this past week by Burton Kligerman Esports. He's now teamed up with Logan Clampett. I think some extra resources going to help Bob Bryant out. And I think he sits 19th right now in the points. I think he has a good chance of staying up there. But again, with the whole season still counting to that top 20 relegation bubble, with the top 20 drivers stay in this series for next year, and the bottom 20, so 21st on through 40th, actually have to requalify in. Some may argue that that battle is more important than the playoffs because you just want to be here next year. If you have to requalify, there's no guarantee that you actually ever get back to this level again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure these drivers are going to have their mind on at least staying in the top 20 for the rest of the season. But let's look ahead to one of the races in particular because it's the Daytona Road Course. It was announced that iRacing is going to be racing on that. And not only do they have to worry about it, but the NASCAR Cup Series guys and the NASCAR Xfinity Series have to worry about it as well. I can imagine that that platform is going to be pretty busy being that first look for guys to get some practice in the virtual Daytona Road Course.
And even for people who don't matter like me, I just took the wheel off the desk, but I was trying it out all day yesterday.
You
So
matter,
yeah,
AP. You matter.
we're not very fast, but I do it for fun. Yeah. So with no practice, of course, for NASCAR headed out there, some of the real drivers probably going to be hopping on the sim as well. We talked a couple of weeks back or months back, actually. Now at this point, time flies, with North Wilkesboro and how it was a unique situation for iRacing to go back and scan a track that wasn't active. This is totally new as well, with iRacing actually having the track before it actually is, able to test in real life with that added chicane at a turn 4. So iRacing got the data from the speedway at Daytona. It's the same curbs and the turtles as we use at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So they already have those scanned into the sim, and it's ready on iRacing right now. So our iRacing Pro drivers for the Coca-Cola Series are going to be driving it. Of course, maybe drivers through ARCA, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. Get some test time on there. Figure out what you're going to do so you're not totally blind going in there for the first time. And then even people like myself can test it out. But I will say, it is so much fun. That ended chicane at a turn 4. You're basically on the brakes coming off of the big banking on turn 4 on the oval. The cars like to wheel hop. It's going to be a really exciting race. And of course, you get 4 races for it on the NASCAR weekend. But if you tune in with us on the Tuesday night, you get 5 because we're going to kick things off.
Perfect. Well, we are looking forward to it. Always enjoy having you in the booth for those calls. It makes it, at least my brain can pick up on what's going on sometimes. So appreciate you joining us. Good to see you, EP.
Yeah, it's going to be a great preview for the weekend. Hope everybody tunes in.
Well, we are not done yet in the virtual world of racing. We have an action-packed August coming up. It's the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. The championship will be decided on August 19th. Then in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series, they will get the first look at the Daytona Road Course on August 11th. Then they'll head back to Daytona to race the Oval under the lights on August 25th. Make sure you visit eNASCAR.com to watch all 3 of these events. That does it for the month of July. Thanks for tuning in. We have a heavy push coming up for the rest of the season in both of the series, so make sure you tune into all that action. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you right back here next time on another episode of The World of eNASCAR.